Okay, how are we doing, Mark?
Good, good, thanks. Yes,
Good.
thanks
Thanks
for
for joining today.
letting me join you on this conversation.
No, it should be really, really interesting. For anybody else's benefit who watches my videos, Mark is a very, very close friend of mine. Bit of a legend on the bodybuilding circuit in the area. Won well over 50 shows. If you go into his office, you'll see a wall with a plethora of trophies and medals and memorabilia from years and years and years of competitive bodybuilding. And it's who generally I would go to for advice rather than some random person on the internet. But yeah, so Mark Etherden, everyone. So thank you for joining me.
Great.
We are going to talk about supplements. Now, Mark is the owner of SNC Supplements. Many people know I'm a big fan of that brand. And Mark is also the owner of the Sports Nutrition Centre in Hotcliffe, Dunstable, or Leighton Buzzard, whichever area you want to associate it to, but it's Hotcliffe. Which is just south of Milton Keynes. A fantastic shop, got a vast array of products and a huge plethora of advice if you need it, with Mark just sat behind the counter ready to give it to you.
Mm.
The shop has also turned into a part of a gym, I believe,
Yeah.
with the remnants of SNC gym that opened up, which unfortunately didn't last too well. Actually, that gym was where me and you really cemented our friendship,
Yeah.
because I had a business in a unit next door. I was the first member to join
Yeah.
SNC, member number one. Unfortunately, the premise just wasn't suitable for
Yeah.
it. It was a damn good go. Yeah, supplementation with Mark.
Mm.
So with somebody with your experience and your knowledge,
Mm.
and years of experience using them, what did the guys back then use? What did the old school
Yeah.
guys really do? Because you didn't have the stuff that we've got available now.
No, nowhere near. It was quite funny. There was very, very little. In fact, when I started training, to be honest with you, there wasn't really a lot available at all. I wasn't really clued up on it, didn't really know a lot about it. All I knew is that I needed to eat a lot of protein, I needed to train hard, I needed to rest. They're just the three things I knew and nothing else. I had no other knowledge than that. So I was at the gym training for the first, I'd say, good 6 months. I didn't actually have any supplements. In fact, what I did do was I was drinking raw eggs, which at the time, people thought that was the thing to do. Crack a load of eggs, put them in a pint glass, and get them down your neck.
That's what we saw Rocky doing.
Yes, that's
And
it.
it worked for
Absolutely.
Rocky.
Yeah, so a lot of people were looking at that and thinking, "Oh, that's the thing to do." When actually, unfortunately, luckily, I found out a bit sooner than later. But it really isn't the thing to do, because you actually digest very little, if none, of that protein. So I was wasting a lot of eggs. Obviously, you need to heat the eggs, and there's a chance that you potentially, unfortunately, I did get salmonella. So I learned the hard way. 2 weeks in hospital. So
Lovely.
that's a big lesson. Now, obviously, they do pasteurized eggs that you can actually drink, but that's obviously, you can get them now, but you couldn't at the time. And as far as the supplements concerned, like I said, very limited, maybe one flavor, vanilla. We were sick of vanilla. So I started trying the old protein drinks, but a lot of them were soya, the texture was very grainy. Sometimes they didn't agree with you very easily. Your stomach, you used to end up on the toilet. They didn't taste very good. But we sort of, when I started getting on, I used to put a little bit in, but they weren't really nice. So it was a case of holding your nose really and downing it.
Yeah, and I
But
suppose with knowledge that we have now, excessive
yeah,
overuse of soya protein
yeah.
actually lowers your testosterone levels, I believe.
Yeah, and doesn't agree with a lot of people. A lot of people have got a lot of intolerances, so for them to drink that, it was, very bad. Some people obviously could, but obviously there's proteins now that are very easily digested and don't cause any trouble at all. Obviously without the lactose and the gluten, but we'll get onto that. But obviously back then the quality, wasn't like it is now. We're just sort of like starting out, but. Like I said, I'd have the odd drink, but compared to what there is now, there was very, very little choice. until
in terms of
yeah.
in terms of the availability and what was available to you. Now, I've mentioned in videos before that I'm always a big fan of the masters categories on these shows, because the guys, when they step on, they're hard and grainy. They've got years and years and years of hard-earned tissue on there, and it's a different muscle belly. Like, the muscle bellies look different. They look harder. They look fuller. They look grainy. And would you attribute that to a lower diet of sugars in those early days when they're adding, in comparison to now?
Definitely. I think sugars have become more of a problem. I think you're better off with fats than sugars. A lot of people have tend to have a lot more sugars now because there's more sugar available, than there is then. But I have to say, when we dieted then, it was a lot harder. We didn't have as much available to us. We relied a lot more on food. Now, obviously, there's a place for supplements, but I think some people, have too many supplements and not have enough food. I always say to people, you can't beat food. Supplements are there to support the diet, and some people tend to rely too much on supplements and not end up eating enough good food. So
I think the key is in the word.
Yeah,
I think the key is in the name. It's a supplement. People forget that
there
point.
to supplement the diet. Yeah.
No, exactly.
So when I was working out my, macros, and I was falling short a little bit on protein, it's very difficult to get enough protein from chicken breasts and fish and alone. So obviously I was putting the protein drinks in just to bump up that protein intake a little bit. But obviously what a lot of people do is they use it as their main source of protein and end up not eating. I know some people that go out on the road and all they're living on is protein drinks, which, is definitely not, I would say, the thing to do. The thing, the supplement, support the diet. Yeah. So I think where things have gone a little bit wrong, people want it easy now. Back then you had to you had to prep your food, you had to eat, you had to cook. It wasn't easy. There wasn't a lot more available then. It's where now, people want it easy. They just want to, take a few drinks. The training seems to be not like it used to be. So,
the supplement industry has boomed. It's a billion pound industry across the globe, and obviously for good reason. With the popularity of sort of physique sports, athletic shows, bodybuilding, and to some degree, performance sports, as well. The industry is very, very much boomed because the science behind it is there. People are being paid to research it and whatnot else. So it really has come out of nowhere. And I think with the point that you're making here, and being a supplement shop owner and a supplement brand owner as well, it's refreshing to hear that from yourself as well, that, supplements are overly taken sometimes. But I do find there is some items that I think will benefit your amateur athlete far, far better than taking them all. I often refer to a toolbox, and sometimes people throw all their tools at one job and have nothing left in the tank, and that's what happens when people overly do supplementation. I find. But with the market how it is, it really, really is booming. So I think it's important for people to understand, one, like you said yourself, it's to supplement your diet. It's not going to make you a champion. It's going to help you get there. And second of all, understand, what to use and when, and what's just a rip-off. Because there's a lot of products out there that are just a joke. Like you say, you're talking about how it was when you were in the old school days, and the physiques and the quality of bodybuilding were phenomenal. Small waist, dry physique, full muscle bellies, hard grain muscle. And it's very, very difficult to find that sort of level of bodybuilder nowadays. And I personally put it down to, like you say, they want an easier route, but they we've got this massive sugar crave in this country. And I'll admit to it myself, but how many people are sponsored or follow things like, your cookie dealers, your brownie companies, your things, because they want the sweet treat. Whereas when I first started lifting dumbbells up, I was approached by a chap and said, right, what you want to do is when you're done here, go and grab a can of tuna, mix it with a can of Coke, and swing that
Absolutely.
down your neck.
Yeah,
And it was like, you know, I
that was
did
a classic.
it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, that
know,
was a classic. Yeah. Yeah. We
you
all
know,
used to have
and I
to
think
do
that's the
that. So,
fundamental difference. It's finding a
yeah.
way or finding a way out.
Yeah, definitely. But like I said, there's a lot available now, a lot of good things that are available, like all these treats, you know, protein bars even weren't really available then, you know, as where now you've got like shelves and rows of protein bars. And when people are prepping, you know, all they talk about now is, you know, what they're allowed to have and what cheats they're allowed to have. And back then there was no cheats. It was black coffee and it was prep meals and it was chicken, it was tuna, and that was it. You know, as where now I think people have been, you know, spoiled a little bit. It's more available, and that's maybe why people are not quite getting as tight as they used to.
Yeah, I mean, I get that a lot. I mean, the fact, like, you know, I don't necessarily prep clients, but I will help people.
Yeah,
And I'll sort out a diet with them. So when do I get a cheat meal? Hey, you ain't even stepped on a treadmill yet.
exactly, absolutely.
You know,
Yeah,
and for me, like, I go very tunnel visioned because for me, because I've not got the size of some of the guys that I would go up against, I
yeah,
kick them on condition. You know, I
yeah,
always come in lean, and
yeah,
sometimes overly lean,
yeah,
overly dry. But generally, I find people, the first thing they ask me is when they get a cheat meal. Now, I don't
yeah.
do cheats unless I need it. And that
Exactly.
is when I'm stage ready 6 weeks out.
Yeah, yeah,
That's when I need it. When
absolutely,
I can't
absolutely.
function properly, when I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
walk
yeah,
down the road, I need a
yeah.
refeed.
Yeah, do
You
you
know,
have the cheat meal because you want it, or do you have the cheat meal because your body requires it? You know,
it,
that's the big difference, you know.
it is a
So a
massive.
lot of people having cheat meals because they want the cheat meal, as where I would put the cheat meal in if my body's demanding or if it's going to help improve my look by putting it in. So,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a big difference.
No, absolutely. Okay, so we've got a rounded point of, you know, hardcore old school
Yes.
bodybuilders, generally better, in my opinion. But now we do have this plethora of supplementation available to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let's be honest with you, if you're writing a letter, I'm not going to use a feather and a pot of ink if I've got a pen next to me.
Absolutely not. No.
Right.
No.
So, what, in your opinion,
Mm.
is essential, worthwhile, and more importantly, worth the money?
Yeah. Well, I get a lot of people come in the shop, you know, and I say to them, look, you don't want to be on everything. You can't be on everything from day one, like we talked about. There's certain essentials that I think will help, certainly, you know, the
Then,
beginner. Yeah. Well, so it depends, you know, someone walks in and we've got a boy, a teenager, you know, he's like 18, he's very, very skinny, you know, he's just not eating enough food. He's not going to eat loads of food, he can't, you know. So with them, it's, you know, just get something that's got some calories in it, you know, get them to sort of like a good weight gain, a meal replacement for them, just so they're generally just getting more volume of food in them, because it doesn't matter how much you tell them, they're not going to be able to eat more meals. They just can't, you know,
no.
so it's
And
very difficult. So for
a
them,
lot of the youngsters, their metabolisms are so
oh,
fast.
it's so fast. I mean, you know, it's absolutely crazy. They can pretty much diet and still take a weight gainer, you know, so
Yeah.
they're burning it off really rapidly. So I just say to them, you just get extra calories in and get a weight gainer. And they start mentioning everything else. I said, look, unless you're eating enough food, all the other supplements ain't going to be no good to you anyway, you know, because a lot of people talk about creatine, they talk about a lot of other supplements, but like I said, unless you're eating enough food, it's really going to be pointless. Even the training becomes a bit pointless if there's not enough food present. So I think food is very, very important. You know, if some of these youngsters, they're training every single day, they're working, they're burning loads of calories on one meal a day, they're just not going to grow. So for them, we just have to get a good weight gainer in where they can just gain, you know, a bit of size, and then obviously they can start replacing it and get more meals in as their body sort of like gets used to larger volumes of, you know, calories, etc. So that's for that type of
a good weight gainer for your young ectomorphic type
yes, any guy,
youngster
yeah.
just starting
And I don't
out.
really tell them to take anything else really other than that, because like I said, you know, you don't want to put everything from day one. For them, it's just a case of get enough food in. That's what they must do to start.
Okay, well, I
And
think
then we can go on to other things.
sound advice. Okay, I mean, for me, I always look at it on a cost basis as well. So, you know, especially when you've got a young family
Yeah.
And, you know, let's face it, we're in a point of financial concern worldwide at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, with all sorts of issues going on. But
Yeah.
for me, I always say a standard whey protein is an essential supplement because of the
Yeah.
amount of protein that you really want to be consuming at those sort of points. If you're getting it from fish, chicken, and beef,
Yeah.
you're not going to have anything left in your wallet.
No, that's right.
It's as simple as that. And for 40 quid, getting a 2.5 kilo tub, two
That's
scoops
right.
a day out of that, that's a
Yeah.
month and a half supply for 30 quid, which will help like post-training, so like peri-workout window.
Yeah.
Is absolutely brilliant. And the reason I say go down a normal whey protein route is, you know, because if it's if it's post training and you need something a little bit faster, like a whey isolate, a little bit of something sugary with that will speed up the digestion rate or speed up the uptake. Or if it's late at night and it's pre-bed, if you mix it with milk rather than bed, it slows down the digestion rate. So it acts like a casing. So you can adapt it to suit your budget a little bit. So I sort of say if you focus on that, and then when you get into the realms where you are more advanced, you can look at the various sort of protein strands that are available.
Yeah, for a lot of people, they can't buy like a concentrate, an isolate, and a casein. You know, they can't buy all three. So they do actually do like protein blends now, actually, where they contain all. You know, but I normally say to someone, get a good standard whey. Actually, I've got one here, James. Actually, I can show you. I mean, this is by Cytec. Yeah. This is obviously one of the recent ones, but like I said, that's just a good, solid, standard whey, you know, and you can't really go wrong with it. It mixes really well. It's got fantastic, lots of flavors, good texture, and that's what you're looking for. Something just a good, solid whey protein. Obviously, there's ones that you would consider sort of higher quality than this one, but for most people, this one here, you know, does the job just for your everyday use, you know, just to up your general protein intake up daily.
Yeah. Okay, well, and Cytec are obviously a very reputable brand as well. I mean, in terms of using that sort of protein, one of the things I find, and with me personally, and I find it with a lot of other people, is if they overdo whey protein, they develop quite a bit of wind. You know, definitely. And it's all about the digestion of it. So there's a brand called, I believe they're called Biotech USA.
That's it. Well, funnily enough, James, I've actually bought out Cytec, so that's something that's.
Oh, have they? Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So I really like their protein because it digests really well. I don't get any bloat. I don't spend all night.
You know what? It's funny because every time we talk about something enters my head a story, and it's actually funny because in the first few years when I was training, I was working in a factory, and obviously I was started on the supplements back then, but I don't think my body was really used to it. I've gone from sort of say, I don't know, 100 grams of protein today to like 300, and it was sort of overnight I've decided I'm going to ramp the protein up. And obviously, you know, sometimes you've got to ease it in your body. You know, some people, like from day one, they're just putting loads of protein in. And to be honest with you, I actually got a warning there for that one reason, because it was causing a lot of wind in the old factory. But yeah, that is funny you should say that. Obviously now my body's used to it, and you know, high quantities of protein, so it's a lot easier. But I do know a lot of people when they first start, they do tend that does happen, definitely.
I mean, it's funny you say about the levels of protein in your body, because there's always this mixed review on too much body being toxic in the system. And there's plenty of studies available and science behind it. But then there's also studies and research behind the opposite effect. There was actually a guy that lived on nothing but raw meat for a year. And he looked like stone. He was like a bit of granite. Slightly insane. But it looked fantastic. So, I think there's a balance there.
Some people's bodies, everyone's sort of like, like different. And I think that, like I said, you can't beat food. I think sometimes when you put too much of this protein in, that can cause a lot of wind and sort of adverse effects. But like I said, a bit later on down the line, they did bring out protein that, was took the lactose, the gluten out, all that. Some people have got intolerances they didn't even realize they had.
Yeah.
And obviously, once they switched to like an isolate or hydrolyzed, which is even better quality, they found that was the answer, and it worked a lot better for them.
Okay, so
But
just
I've always
to
been all
recap
right.
on that, and just to, because a few people would have probably just tipped their heads and gone, "What did he just say?" Hydrolyzed whey.
Yeah. So
Hydrolyzed
basically,
whey is a super fast absorbing whey
yeah,
version of whey protein, which
yeah,
is generally used in like Pepto Pros or straight out hydrolyzed wheys. If you're an insulin user, it does help with the uptake, but it works more specifically intra-training with a carbohydrate supplement. Is that
yes,
correct?
definitely. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. A lot of people put these in after training, but they don't realise they actually need the carbs present as well. A lot of people are dying to say, "I just put the pure isolate in," but the carbs have got to be there to drive the aminos into the muscle anyway. So
Yeah.
that's why I sort of like, we always, back in the day, multidextrin was always the carbohydrate source we used to have. Again, that was one of the very few that was available to us. Glucose was as well. We'd put that in. I actually remember when isolate first come out, because it wasn't available at the beginning. And when that come out, funny enough, you did see a sudden change and an increase in bodybuilders sort of got bigger, there was a slight, you could see that time when the isolates come into effect. People were using them with carbs, maybe creatine and glutamine, post-training. Again, they were using it with the insulin, and it was working very well. And like I said, you did see bodybuilders suddenly starting to, get bigger at that point. Definitely.
Of course, because at that point, when you are that peri-workout window, I know we talk about the
Yeah,
post-training window and that
that's
half an
right.
hour or whatever else, but when you've got that insulin sensitivity at that point, when your body is screaming out for nutrition, we want to be using faster absorbing things. We've
Yes.
just expended all of our glycogen within the muscle, so our pump's fading very, very fast, the blood flow's coming out, and to replenish that, we need a carbohydrate source that will convert to glucose, which will then convert to glycogen with the right amount of water and proteins to get into the muscle as fast as possible, which will promote growth and repair. So you mentioned about maltodextrin. Now, maltodextrin is the old school carbohydrate supplement. I'm glad you brought this up, because carbohydrate supplementations is one of my essential supplements. Because, hey, look, I'm a carb head. I get that. I'll eat oats all day long. I have no issue with that. But to optimize what I'm doing, I like a good carbohydrate supplement, either intra or post training. I actually use your product after train because it's maltodextrin and a whey isolate. The reason I use that is because I haven't got to buy two products. So we've now modernized that, because obviously maltodextrin is a vegetable-based starch, a starchy powder that is used, and it is fantastic product. But now we have our high branch cyclic dextrins that are coming available. Now, the idea, so cyclic dextrins have a high molecular weight and a very low osmolarity. This basically means it spends next to no time in your stomach. It passes straight through, digests straight away.
Instantly.
Your insulin transports it over, it shuttles over and turned into glycogen as fast a rate as possible, because obviously the longer it lingers, the less uptake you're going to have.
Absolutely.
But I don't get on with it.
Yeah, it's funny that. I mean, I tried a lot of, I've tried them all, tried all the, and back, like I said before, we had glucose, but we found it was more like syrup. It was very sickly to have after training. The multidextrin mix is a lot easier, so we tried many, also then Fatago. I remember the day the Fatago come out, and we
Which we
rushed to
now
get
have Fatago S2, don't we?
Yeah, so we tried that and that was good. But again, they can mix quite gloopy, and I think that when you've had a hard training session, you need something that's very easy.
Yeah.
So I've tried them all. And again, the cyclodextrin does mix a little bit more gloopy. For me, multidextrin, it's old school, yes, but it worked, it works.
That's what it says on the tin.
It works now. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, a lot of people sort of like redevelop, try to sort of like, reinvent the wheel, really. They're sort of trying to get more and more advanced. But sometimes the old school stuff worked back then. and will always work, you know. So for me, multidextrin is the reason why I bought the Aftertrain, you know, the SNC Aftertrain supplement out, was because we used to buy everything, like you said, independently, but it was costing a lot of money. You know, we'd buy an isolate, we'd get the multidextrin in a big bag, we'd get some creatine and glutamine, and we'd obviously put it together, but it was costing a lot. So I decided that, you know, it'd be nice to have it all in one, so it's a no-brainer. So once you've finished, you could just down it with water. It bridges the gap between meals, so you can obviously have your drink, you can go home, and then about an hour or two later, you're ready to eat your meal.
Yeah,
and that was the
I'd
idea.
actually agree with that as well, because it mixes up like a fruit juice. It's very, very light.
Yeah.
I really quite enjoy Aftertrain. Now, I don't use it post-training. I use it intra-training.
Yeah, intra. Yeah.
I use it as an intra-training. And and then I drive, and then after about an hour and a half, I eat. And it doesn't stop me eating, where I find the cyclic dextrin, although officially speaking, it doesn't spend as much time in your stomach, it feels like it does. I don't know whether that's just me or thingy. I just can't get on with the stuff. But we also have another very, very old school product as well, which is very gloopy, but it's like, you know, costs you next to nothing. If you've got nothing else available, it works a treat, which is, of course, is waxy maize starch.
Waxy maize,
which is about as old as it comes, but it does work.
Again, it did the job,
Yeah, it will do the job. So if you can't get your hands on a maltodextrin or a cyclic dextrin or whatever else, you can get waxy maize starch just about anywhere. You can get it in a home store. And it's just a good carbohydrate sort of thing.
It's funny, James, just the centre of my head, you know, like recently a lot of people have been talking about, you know, putting in cereals after training, you know. I've got to be honest with you, it's not really, like I said, again, for me, you know. For me, I've always liked to, after training, put a nice, like, a juice drink in, nice and quick, job done, and then get back and then eat my meal an hour or two later.
I think trends are very much set on depending on what famous bodybuilder or coach says. So you remember about a year or two ago, everybody was eating bagels and jam after they trained.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because Jordan Peters came out and said, well, I have bagels and jam. And then suddenly that was the best thing on the planet, was to have bagels and jam. And it's like, well,
definitely.
You know, it's just, people just catch on.
Constantly.
Going on. I mean, the reality is, it's like, if I have a friend or a client going on stage and they're flat and they're thingy, I always tell them a couple of days before, go and buy a little bottle of full fat Coke. Open it up and leave it open in your fridge so it goes flat, and take that with you for emergencies, because if you need that sugar, boom, and it ain't going to bloat you because you've made it flat.
Absolutely,
so it's just another one of them, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is, So it's funny how, you know, how things have evolved. Some people even have gone back to not having supplements anymore, and sort of, like I said, going in has always been the best, I would say, and it's what they all used to use back then. But like I said, they're always bringing out new stuff. The psychodextrin, like I said, I've given that a good go, and it's a fantastic carbohydrate source, but it's not for everyone. It does mix thicker, like I said. So the texture of it, I think, is very important, of proteins as well. You know, after training, like I said, for me, a juice is so much easier to drink. You've just done legs, you know. If you feel a bit sick, the last thing you want is a thick chocolate milkshake, you know. For me, I just want something like an orange juice, and give myself a chance to sort of recover, and then obviously I'm ready to eat. So
Okay, so while we're on carbohydrates, now I did want to talk about some other little bits, and I'm just going to move this around a little bit, because while we're on carbohydrates, one thing that's very, very popular now, and it's very popular with me as well, is glucose disposal agents.
Which is something that's come up.
So glucose disposal agents, for me, they're a fantastic product. So they really help when you've got an era of insulin resistance going on. So for anyone who doesn't know, insulin resistance is an impaired response to insulin use. So when we have a carbohydrate supplement post-training, we take in those fast-absorbing carbohydrates. We create an insulin spike. The insulin in our system transports those carbohydrates, converts them into what we want, into what we need, and shuttles them into the muscle very, very fast. And if you have an insulin resistance, your body doesn't do that. And what actually happens is your body holds on to it. So when you're at a resting rate, your glucose levels are still very, very high.
Yeah.
So glucose disposal agents, they help disperse the glucose and help the insulin along. So they do this, it's called insulin sensitization, glucose disposal, and insulin ometic effects. Ometic effects.
Right. Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
fucking hell.
Yeah.
So basically, it's when glucose is in that, when insulin is in the muscle, when you're insulin resistant, you have a decreased glucose uptake in the muscle. So you're not going to get the benefit of having all of them carbohydrates coming along. So in terms of bodybuilding, if you've got any form of insulin resistance, what happens is you spill over.
Yeah, absolutely.
And become very, very watery.
Yeah.
And don't shuttle the amount of carbohydrates you need. Now, I find these products very, very useful, but they're also very, very expensive.
Yeah, that's the problem.
They're very expensive. And the reality is they contain two ingredients that are really the active ingredients, being berberine HCl and chromium picolinate.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can buy them separately, much
independent. Yeah.
You know, which I do because I'm a tight ass.
Yeah.
So have you used much of these?
Funny enough, it was about, I give them a good go, I'd say about 2 years ago. I was really sort of continuously giving, I'll always give a new supplement that comes along a really, really good go. You know, I don't just go on it and say, oh, that's no good and get rid of it. I'll try it a few times to make my own mind up on it, you know. I was actually using one by the Warrior Project. They were doing quite a good one, a disposal unit. So I've given them a good go. For me, I think, see, the problem is there's so many supplements available that, like I said, you can't be on them all, you know. I mean, when I wake up in the morning, if you see the amount of tablets I take, it's like, you know. So I give a good go. For me personally, again, you know, if we always talk about creatine, I don't really take a lot of creatine, you know.
No, I don't use it.
So some people do and some people don't, you know. It's a bit of, all the people I speak to is a bit of a 50-50. But going back to the, I tried them for about a good 6 months solid. But did they really do for me? Not enough for me to stay on them, James, to be honest with you.
No. Well, there you go. There's the variation in it. I mean, for me, I do a lot to not overspill. I do have a little bit of insulin resistance. I'm not heading towards type 2 diabetes, as far as I'm aware. I have a very good sustained diet. I stick to my diet very, very well. I can cut fat really quickly when I want to. One product I do use, and I use it for how my body processes sugar levels, is that.
A lot of people are using that now.
Every morning. I've used it for years.
So
much so I'm quite accustomed to drinking vinegar now. But it really does help the digestion, which I also add in digestive enzymes. I get bloat a lot. So if
going back, you know, it's not how much protein obviously that people have, it's how much you digest. You know,
this is the thing.
I know people that are on hundreds and hundreds of grams of protein a day, but are digesting very little of it, you know. So again, you know, need to make sure that we're utilizing and digesting that protein efficiently, you know, so that's important. So digestive enzymes, but a lot of the proteins these days are a lot more advanced and contain them digestive enzymes in them anyway. So a lot of them are much easier to digest than before. So again, going back to the wind thing, I think the reason for that was because the quality of the protein back then wasn't as good, and we weren't digesting it as efficiently as what we can now, obviously. But
I mean, as well as that, when I find you use a glucose disposal agent, so when I have a pre-training meal, I have a cream of rice, because it's easily digested. And I have that about an hour and a half for a train. I take chromium picolinate and berberine. I
Yeah.
go and train, and I have a bit of salt in there as well.
Right.
And when I train, I look incredible.
Yeah.
Because I'm vascular, I'm pumped, I'm
Yeah.
huge.
You look nice.
And because I look incredible, I train harder.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you do.
Yeah.
It's one of those. I mean, what we do, it's aesthetical appearance more than anything. It's what spurs us on.
Yeah.
Call it vanity, call it what you like, but it does spur us on. And if, you know, at the end of the day, you can take all the supplements in the world, you can take all the drugs in the world, get all the sleep you want in the world, but if you're not training hard enough, you're not going to get anywhere. So if that makes you train harder, fucking take it.
Definitely. Yeah.
You know?
Which is also another reason why, you know, we talk about, well, we can get onto this, obviously, the pre-workouts.
Yes.
If they're going to help some people, I mean, I've got to be honest with you, James, back in the day, I was highly motivated anyway. I didn't need anything like that, and they weren't available anyway. If we felt a bit tired, we'd have a black coffee, but we were so eager to train, you know, that I didn't really ever need a pre-workout to get me motivated. You know, I just couldn't wait to get to the gym after work. That's where now a lot of the youngsters tend to be relying on these pre-workouts and find it very difficult to train unless they have one, which I find very strange.
I bet you, I will bet a pound to a penny right now that the best-selling products in your store are pre-workouts.
Absolutely.
And they give you the least benefit in terms of long-time training and benefit than anything else on those shelves.
People will go for the pre-workout over the Pro-E most of the time, you know.
Because they can feel it working.
Yeah, and also the pre-workouts they started, I think the first ones that started were like Gaspari, Super Pump. It was a very good pre-workout. And also No Explode. That was another good one. And they were the first two really that come on the market, and they weren't overly strong. You know, you'd take them and you'd go, "Yep, I can feel that."
What was the other one? What was the orange? There was one.
Ultimate Orange. That come in as well, but that was very strong though.
That was like taking cocaine. That was
crazy. Yeah. So we weren't ready for that. So first we started taking some No Explode by BSN, bit of Super Pump. Personally, Super Pump was my favourite, because I could definitely, get a good pump, and you just give you enough energy. You could still sleep at night. That's all good. Got a good workout, definitely brilliant. But then there seemed to be a competition who could bring out the strongest pre-workout. And I always said, a good pre-workout is one that just gives you enough just to get you through that workout, give you a little bit of extra. But again, obviously you still want to sleep, because if you're not sleeping, that's going against what we're trying to achieve. We need to sleep. That's when we recover. That's when we grow. So people coming in the shop, they're actually out of their faces. They've took these pre-workouts, 3 or 4 scoops. They think it's, funny to do so. I could never really make it out, because for me, if I take something like that and I'm training, I can't even really concentrate. I'm in a state of, I like to be, for me, it's more about focus, as well. Like I said, now we're going to get onto the new pre-workouts, which are actually using, ingredients that help focus, which for me, I prefer, the nootropics that they've been put in, like lion's mane mushrooms, things like that. Brilliant. That for me is more like it, because I want to get that pump like I used to in Super Pump. But at the same time, I do want to get some sleep after I've trained. And I just like that focus.
I love nitric oxide boosters.
It's brilliant,
They're fantastic products. And like you say, they're not stimmy at all. I do like the pumps. So I did actually enjoy using the SNC stage pump.
Yeah,
but it didn't sit with me very well afterwards, so I can't really.
Because again, all supplements, different people,
exactly.
Different
so I love the pump products. I've always been a fan of those. Generally, if I need the extra boost, I'll have a T5 or a coffee.
That's right.
But I'll go for the pump products before. The skinny product. I mean, I've seen lads go into the gym. They have 2 scoops of this new pre-workout that's gone in, and it's all a bit funny because within 10 minutes they're in the toilet being sick. They don't feel very well. They're not going to train properly. It's also 8 or 9 o'clock at night. They're not going to fucking sleep.
So the whole workout, they've actually brought up all the food they've been eating all day. They're not going to get no sleep, and I don't think that's going to help growth at all.
No.
So in actual fact, the one time people take pre-workouts is they feel that they need them more on legs. Is where that's the one day I will not take any pre-workouts, simply because for me, whenever I took a pre-workout before training legs, I'd always be sick.
Yeah.
So for me, be basically an empty stomach, no pre-workouts. I have to eat way like 2 hours before. And for me, that works. You know, if I eat too close, if I have pre-workouts, if I've got anything in me, if I train legs, the chances are, you know, I'm going to be sick. Back. So I normally sort of like load up after a leg session. I eat more after and eat a little bit less prior. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, actually, you say that. I do a lot of carb cycling when I diet down.
Yeah.
So my carbohydrate intake on leg day and back day when I'm dieting hard or prepping hard is twice that of any other day. Or 3 times that of a day that I rest, because a rest day I don't have hardly any carbs in at all.
That's right.
I cycle my carbs in that week. Yeah. But it's a fantastic point to bring up about the pre-workouts. I mean, the reality is I tend to beetroot extracts work really, really well for blood virilization. Glycerin.
Yeah, that's very good.
Very old-fashioned method.
Very old school. Yeah.
Before you get on stage,
that's right.
You drop to that.
Yeah, that's
it. A couple of hours before, bang on. So I think pre-workouts have their place, and there's certain pre-workouts that are now, like you say, with the mental focus type things, the nootropics as well. Mm-hmm. But also, there's a bleed over here from pre-workouts and amino acids as well, because there's certain aminos that will benefit you in the long term, having them at a pre-workout stage or intra-workout stage.
Yeah.
And some pre-workouts and some companies now have clicked onto this now and gone, well, hang on, if we take that amino profile and put it in a pre-workout, these people are actually getting a benefit from the pre-workout.
Definitely.
As well. And it's not just like, you know, beta-alanine burning your face up to shit.
Yeah. See, funny you should say that, because on the original product that I wanted to obviously do was to have all the essential aminos mixed with like some caffeine. So really you're going back to an old school, you know, pre-workout here, where you got your black coffee with your aminos, but you know, people didn't really catch on to it. You know, I thought it was a fantastic product to put all the EAAs in and mix that with a pre-workout. But funny enough, a lot of places sell them separately. A lot of people, you know, like their pre-workout super, super strong, and they normally drink the EAAs, you know, before and during, you know, their workouts. But, you know, I think these days as well, like I want to mention the brand Rich Piana, you know, the 5%, because he did bring out some brilliant at the time. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I have to say that was one of the best brands, because I think that Rich Piana generally was passionate about bringing out good products. And I wanted to get on that about what you said is, you know, some brands are there just to make money. You know, and the quality of them is not good. They're charging lots of money. You know, I feel they're the ones I tend not to want to stock in my shop. But there are certain brands where, like Rich Piana was one of them, that the stuff he bought, like the All Day You May, pretty much all of his products were very, very good. And I think he was very passionate that people liked the products and got good results from them.
Yeah. Actually, one of my favorite products of all time was the original Real Food.
Yeah,
because that was like a meal. I mean, you couldn't have 2 scoops of that and then go and have a meal after it. But by God, the benefit you got from it, because it was yam, it was sweet potato, it was actual, you know, there was blueberries in it and stuff like that. It was 50, 60 quid a tub.
Yeah,
see, but it's because it was proper food. And now that, bless him, he's passed away, and whoever's running the company now, and they're running it right into the shit.
Absolutely,
They've changed these products, and they're not the same.
Well, like I said, it's more about making money than you say.
Yeah, because it's got cheap stuff in it. I mean, it's for the first time, it's like, now we've added maltodextrin. I didn't want the fucking maltodextrin. Exactly, I wanted the yam. You know, I wanted the proper food. It was real food, and now it's called real carbs.
Though. But unfortunately, James, there was the reason as well. There was a time when, like you said at the very beginning, where people weren't really clued up on it. But then obviously it started to boom. It was a multi, you know, billion-pound business, supplements. And at that point, more supplement shops started opening, etc. And that obviously then, you know, they decided they were going to put VAT on the supplements.
Yeah.
And it was at that turning point where a lot of companies had to make a decision, I feel. And a lot of the good brands they lessened the quality of their protein. And I can actually tell you the actual time that happened. You know, it'd be more grainy, the texture wasn't as good, you know, the flavors weren't as good. You know, and then he started like selling these products into cheap shops like B&M, etc. And that there was a big change, you know. And it was at that point when, you know, it was very difficult for these companies to make good money anymore like they used to be able to. And so that was a problem for a lot of companies as well. You know, it was a shame, because I think I want to also mention CMP, because going back in the day, that for me was way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
When Kerry was running that, he also used to do it with Dorian Yates. Chemical Warfare, they had some amazing products, and didn't realize how good the products were until now. When I look back, they were ahead of their time. A really good pro peptide they used to bring out, a very, very good what was it, they did like a MetRx. They used to do meal replacement sachets. There was all kinds of things CMP did, but very, very good quality.
I remember those MetRx meal replacement sachets.
Yeah.
They mixed up like cake batter.
Yeah, it was a meal replacement. So, you know what, they were really handy, John, because if you were out and about and you know, you didn't want to miss a meal, you could always tear that open, put it in hot water, shake it up, and it was basically you know, a meal replacement. I always remember I used to sell a lot of the Berry Blast. You know, they used to do MetRx. It was quite a good flavour, and CMP used to do theirs as well. But yeah, talking about CMP, they were another very, very good brand. So CMP were very good. I think, again, when you look at brands and you see bodybuilders that do their own brands, like you had Dorian that was part of that, you know, and Kerry Kays, which also was a bodybuilder himself. Bodybuilders that tend to develop, you know, brands are normally the best because they're more passionate about it. You know, you've got a lot of brands that, yeah, they want to bring out something that people, you know, benefit from, and they work. As well, there's a lot of brands that come out where, you know, they're just in it to make money. You know, they just bring out anything, and I could name some, but you know, like I said, if ever you look at brands and you look at, if there's a bodybuilder behind, like Gaspari, when he brought his out, you know, you got Flex Lewis, he's got his, you know, they tend to be better brands, I would say.
Well, actually, you say that because when we was talking about amino acids, branch chain amino acids, as well as essential amino acids. So when you're using branch chain amino acids, optimally, you should be looking for around 10 grams of BCAAs or essential amino acids per serving. And there's very few products that do 10 grams of aminos per scoop.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
The two that do it, one of them is Gaspari Nutrition.
Yeah.
The other one was All Day You May.
All Day You May.
They've actually reduced the amount of amino that's in their amino product now. It's only 8 grams in there.
Yeah.
And the other one is BSN.
BSN. Yeah, good. Yeah. Another good old school.
Yeah.
You know,
so they have 10 grams of aminos per serving, which I think is
in fact, Rich was one of the first that brought out a 10-to-1 ratio. Most of the BCAAs were 3-to-1. He brought out the very high leucine, you know. And so obviously leucine being the one that most people want, that's helping with, you know, protein synthesis, you know, and the one that people feel that you grow the best from, obviously the leucine. You can buy leucine actually on its own. But
leucine doesn't work as well without isoleucine and valine in the same mix.
That's it. Yeah.
Which is why BCAAs have become so popular.
Yeah. But I think the All Day You May, when that first came out, tastes really good. For me as well, having the All Day You May was good. It was something you could drink all day. I am sort of a bit of I don't tend to drink enough water. I know this. You know, I've always got to tell myself to drink more. And with the All Day You May come out, obviously it tastes good, and it was something you could put in like a 2-litre jug, and obviously, you know, you would drink more. For that reason alone, it was a good thing for me. The reason for drinking it, obviously. You know,
no, I totally agree. I totally agree. I kind of missed that product actually, or how it was, because they added caffeine to it now as well.
Yeah, they seem to be adding caffeine to everything. You know,
but I can't understand the point of having a product that's designed for you to consume from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed.
Yeah, you're drinking caffeine
and then
all day long.
Turn it into a pre-workout.
Yeah, because I think they've sort of caught on again that people like this feeling of having extra energy. You know, and having like caffeine in their system all day.
But of course, you build up immunity to caffeine very, very quickly.
Yeah.
You know, so
absolutely, yeah. I know some people that, they take ridiculously strong pre-workouts, but are not really getting a lot from the caffeine that's in them. Because they've just been drinking so much caffeine all day long, every day, which I don't think is not good for you.
No, it's not. So, okay, Mark, I want to wrap things up a little bit. So we've had a fantastic conversation.
Yeah.
So
we could talk all day.
we could, and we often do. I pop in to buy a quick pot of EAAs or something like that, and it takes 3 hours. Mark, give me your top 3 supplements.
Okay, so the top
and
3
your
supplements,
bottom 3.
And the bottom 3. Okay, for me, it's got to be a pure whey protein.
Yep.
Okay, that's number 1. I would say if there's another product that people, now this is a bit of a difficult one for me, because creatine obviously is such a good product and so many people get on so well with it. And the only reason why I'm going to say creatine is because it's a very cheap supplement. You can get a massive big pot of creatine for very, very little. So that's why I'd say, it's definitely worth
good whey protein, a good creatine monohydrate.
Creatine. And yes, like we talked about, I would say a good BCAA or essential amino acid to drink basically through the day. I think if you take them 3 things, I think that's going to help benefit you, for building muscle and certainly getting, like I said before, plenty of meals in you, training hard, getting your rest. And if you do them, you should be away, definitely.
And your bottom 3, what would you consider not really worth the time unless you're a pro?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, there's absolutely tons on the shelf when I look around that are sitting there that people, that they've brought out. Can I just mention one more other product? I know we've only mentioned 3, but a 4th one, which I actually will say is very, very good, is the liver and organ support, which I think a lot of people should be taking.
Oh, okay.
Depending on whether you're obviously on gear or not, but obviously that is, again, Rich Piana brought one out and it was a very, very good one. And I think for a lot of people, they should always, shouldn't overlook something like that,
That's a very good shout.
So I would say to people, if you are using anything, or even if you're on extremely high protein, the organ and liver defender, which Rich Piana does, is an excellent product. And I know most top bodybuilders do take that particular one. So
that's a result. We've got 4 now. 4 top products recommended by somebody who knows the industry inside out, with no bullshit, no crap, telling you exactly what is what. So, Mark, give me your 3 money wasters.
I would say for someone who's coming at the beginning, like I said, we've talked about casein. I said for an advanced bodybuilder, yes, I sometimes take it, but I mix my Greek yogurt with my protein, like you said. It's about sort of someone coming in and maximizing, so they've only got a certain amount of money to spend. That's what we're talking about, and they want to spend it on the essential. It
doesn't have to be expensive.
So like I said, with the casein, I would say that would be probably left for someone who's starting out. They just need that pure whey protein. As long as they're getting enough protein daily to support what they're trying to achieve, I would say that's good for them, rather than buying multiple different proteins. So I'd say casein. I would say another one, I'm just trying to think on the shelf, because there is so many. I have to say, look, fat burners are extremely, something we haven't talked about today, but they are very, 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 very popular. And fat burners work fantastic, but there is a problem with them. A lot of people take fat burners thinking that if they take fat burners, it will allow them to eat a load of crap. So that is a problem. I've got a lot of people buying.
This is going back to that cheap meal scenario
again. So that is a problem. People that come in and buy fat burners but are eating a load of crap, pointless. You'll always out eat a fat burner.
Best fat burner on the market is a good pair of trainers and a hoodie.
Absolutely, definitely. I mean,
get out there at 5 in the morning in the pitch black and go walking.
Yes, absolutely.
Get it done.
Yeah, fat burners have got to be one of the best sellers, but definitely not used correctly. I always say, don't have the fat burner. Whenever I start my diets off, I don't use a fat burner to start with. I always use a fat burner down the line when I'm dieting hard, and it will just help, to get the last bit off, or, and that's the problem.
My dad always used to say, there's no point picking up a saw if you've got a bang in a nail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Keep the tool for the right job when you need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're saying
number 3, so we've got casein, fat burners used incorrectly.
Incorrectly, yes.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
number
fat burners
3
should be really in the top 3. Really, it's a difficult one to place the fat burners, because obviously, like, fat burners
Well,
do
I think we
work.
could have another conversation on fat burning
Fat burners alone.
alone.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
hey, you know, maybe the next one we'll talk about performance enhancing drugs and whatnot else.
Absolutely.
And so one more.
So one more supplement. Like I said, again, the disposal units we talked about the earlier.
GDA.
Yeah, I think with them, they are more for the advanced bodybuilder. I think if someone comes in from day one and takes them, that may not be the thing to do for them. I don't think they're going to benefit from it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. If you rely on
there's many
glucose
types of
disposal
supplements like that.
No,
Yeah, so I would say
one,
that one as well. I mean, like I said, I've trialled them. So as my training partners, we've given them a go, and yes, they definitely can work. It's a bit like creatine, then types of supplements, though, where for some people they're going to benefit probably more than others. Creatine, like I said, is a very strange. So it definitely works. There's no doubt about it. But
well, it's the most tested and researched supplement on the market.
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing is, with the after training, the post workout I did, I put creatine with it anyway. You know, there's a degree of creatine in there. So, and I think a lot of people do put too much in. It can be a little bit stressful on the old kidneys if there's too much creatine there. For some people, that's, you know, but, so I would say they're the bottom 3 for someone who's coming at the big. Obviously, there's test boosters as well that you can take. But that depends on, if you're a youngster and your testosterone level is really high anyway, no point taking them.
I think if you're a youngster, you need to be utilising your natural testosterone levels as much.
Absolutely, yes.
Eat red meat. Spend many good nights with misses. Lift heavy. Definitely. Be aggressive with it. You've got enough testosterone in your body to be.
Absolutely, yes, definitely.
For me, I got to disagree a little bit with the GDA. Because I use it and I find a lot of benefit.
A very benefit, yeah. So I think it's a bit like the creatine,
me
really,
because I have a degree of insulin resistance.
Yes, yeah.
I just like how it works. So I would say that was my 3rd top supplement worth the money. My top one being a good whey protein, same as yourself. One with minimal sugars but optimal levels of protein. I don't want a 99 calorie per scoop. I want 135 plus calories per scoop with minimal sugars and 24 grams to 28 grams of protein per serving. I want a good quality one, not a my protein. Second top, I've got to say glucosamine.
Yeah.
The benefits of glucosamine. I mean, glucosamine for your joints is next to second to none. You know, people use it for, it's got benefits if you've got multiple sclerosis, it's got benefits for arthritic pain, it's got benefits for back pain, joint pain, and more importantly in bodybuilding, joint pain caused through drug use.
Yes, absolutely,
Glucosamine does help. So I would have those 3 in my top. My bottom, I'm going to say protein bars.
Yeah, protein bars, yes.
Because, do you know what? If you want a chocolate bar,
just have a chocolate.
Don't buy a chocolate bar.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like protein pancakes. Have you eaten protein pancakes? Shit.
Yeah.
Go and have a pancake.
That's it, you're right,
Just do yourself a favour. Have the pancake.
Yeah, see, the bars are another thing. I mean,
they make you crave more shit.
Of course they do, yeah.
You know, so I'm also going to add into my bottom, the bottom mix into those. I'm going to add in cyclic dextrin. Because I don't think you need to go to the expense of something so advanced unless you're at the top of your game.
Yeah. So again, James, it's just showing us that it depends where you're at. So like I said, if you ask me what my top 3 and bottom 3 are, it's very different to what I would advise just someone coming in the shop who's starting. You know, so think, you know, what you're trying to achieve and who it's, you know, and said your top 3 and bottom 3 are very different to mine.
Yes.
But I felt like after all the supplements I've used, I've narrowed it down to the ones that I personally feel, for me, give me the best results, and discard the ones that I feel are not doing, you know, for me. And I think that's what we all have to do. We have to go through this experimental phase. But one thing we do know is we all need to get some form of protein supplement. But all the other sort of extras that are surrounding that, I think you have to go on this little journey of experimenting what works for you and what you feel don't.
This is the thing. You can't just listen to somebody online or read an article in Flex magazine. It really is about trial and error. And this was the beauty of Rich Piana, because he said this all the time. Try it your damn self.
Yes.
See what works. And I totally agree with that. But my third and final bottom one is maca root.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It does nothing. It's been proven to do absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
It's £15 to £25 a tub of tablets that you swallow for nothing. It flies off the shelf.
Flies off the shelf, There's many things that do fly off the shelf.
And it has been proven again and again and again to do nothing but give you something to swallow and something to shit.
That
is it. That is it. So that's my top.
I think what I'm going to need to do is go in my shop and do a little list again for you, sort of like from the top ones to the bottom ones. You know, have a good look. But like I said, I mean, also I didn't mention though. For me, one of the most important supplements is that post-workout drink. It was something that was drummed into me sort of from the beginning. And I was always told, and this is from some of the best, if there was ever a time to put a supplement in, post-workout would be the time to put it in. As we know, there's key times when we want to put supplements in, which is, I say key times, the most beneficial times, I would say, which are first thing in the morning, straight after training, and before bed. They're the 3 key times that I'm more likely to put supplements in. So I put all my vitamins in the morning, etc. I will have like my oats, and I put my protein with it. Post-workout, I sort of have my after train, and before bed is another key time, obviously, to get protein in. And I normally use my whey protein and mix that with my Greek yogurt. So again, they're key times, you know, that I think are most important to put supplements in.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. In fact, I've moved one of the products that I use to before bed, because I've got a habit of waking up, or not actually waking up, of sleepwalking.
Right.
And I do. I wake up in the morning and the fridge is empty. It's like, who's been down there doing all of that? So,
that's the excuse most people tell me.
So I use your No More Hunger.
That's right. Again, a stim-free supplement. It's not a miracle, James.
There's not many left in there, mate.
Yeah. But like I said, it's not a miracle again. I think a lot of people are expecting miracles, but it's there to obviously aid and help. That's what supplements are for. Sometimes people expect a bit too much from a supplement, but it can only do so much. Obviously, the rest of that comes from willpower. You do need a degree of willpower. But if you've got the willpower and the determination, and you've got something like that in your corner, it makes life obviously a bit easier. And that's
I put a post out on Facebook yesterday with a dieting tip. Dieting's one of the things I can do very, very well. Yeah. I put a tip out. My number one tip for beating hunger when dieting: brush your teeth.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Brush your teeth. No one wants to eat after they've brushed their teeth.
Yeah, nothing tastes good after brushing your teeth, does it?
It works.
You're absolutely right. There's little things actually that people do, you know, and we used to do back then, that can help, you know, with dieting, obviously, you know. Everyone has their own little things that can obviously help, you know. I have a mate that used to have his sugar-free jelly all the time, you know, beforehand, before bed and stuff like that. But there's little things that people do. You know, I've been so hungry sometimes I've been sucking on, you know, sugar-free ice pops. I've frozen
BCAAs into icicle things. I've done all that shit. I've blended my scoop of protein into an ice cream that if you wasn't actually dieting, you wouldn't touch.
You wouldn't touch
because it just
tastes great when you're starving.
Yeah, but when you're hungry, that's delightful.
Yeah, of
Mark,
course.
this has been absolutely fantastic,
Yeah, brilliant.
phenomenally informative.
Yeah,
For everybody watching, I really, really hope you've enjoyed it and you've taken it from it. I'm sorry we mumbled on. We're very passionate about this sort of stuff,
yeah,
and we talk a lot. I think we should do this again.
definitely. This test
Uh,
boosters we talk about. There's the fat burners we can talk about.
yeah. Don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
And you see that picture, listen to him, because that's what you'll look like with years and years of graft, years and years of correct dieting, correct supplementation, correct usage, competing. That's the end result. So if you don't believe what you've just heard, you're a fucking tool, because he's literally just shown you the end result of following this man's advice. So let's get on it, Mark. Until the next time.
Absolutely. Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Good to talk to you,
Thank you
James.
so much. All right.
Excellent.
I will speak
Thanks a
to you
lot.
soon. Cheers.
No worries.
Bye.
All right. Bye.